Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're tackling a topic that can sometimes sound a little intimidating, assessment in special education. But I promise you it's not as complicated as it seems. Really, it's all about discovering how to unlock a student's true potential. By the end of this, you're going to understand exactly how it works and why it's so important. Let's dive in. So let's start with the question that's at the heart of it all. You see a student struggling and you want to help, but where do you even begin? That's where assessment comes in, and I want you to think of it less like a test and more like an investigative toolkit. It's what helps us go from just seeing a problem to actually understanding it. Okay, section 1. Why do we even do this? This is so crucial because it's all about mindset. Assessment isn't about passing or failing, it's about discovery. It's a process of gathering clues piece by piece to build a really clear picture of what makes a student tick. And at its core, this is what it's all about. Notice that word, systematic. That means we're not just guessing, we are methodically collecting information. And for what purpose? Well, it's all about making decisions that are actually going to benefit the student. That's the one and only goal here. Now, this slide is super important because people mix these two words up all the time, assessment and evaluation. They sound similar, but they're totally different. Think of assessment as an ongoing conversation. It's like a checkup we do throughout the year to see how things are going and adjust as we go. Evaluation, on the other hand, is more like a final report card. It's a judgment on what's already been learned. For helping a student who's struggling, that ongoing assessment, that's where the magic happens. All right, let's move on to the how. Think of this next part as our roadmap. If assessment is a journey of discovery, you gotta know the route, right? There are different kinds of assessments for different reasons, and each one gives us another valuable piece of the puzzle.
So, there are 3 main stops on this journey. It almost always starts with a screening. This is a quick, wide-net approach, usually for all students, just to see who might need a closer look. Now, if a screener raises a little flag, we move to a diagnostic assessment. This is the deep dive. This is where we pinpoint the specific strengths and, the areas that need more support. And then finally, once we have a plan in place, we use progress monitoring. This is maybe the most important step because it answers the question, is what we're doing actually working?
Of course, none of this information is helpful if the process isn't fair and accurate. So let's talk about the rules of the road. These are the legal and ethical guardrails that protect students and make sure the information we get is solid and trustworthy. Okay, this one can seem a little technical, but it's pretty simple. There are 2 main ways to measure progress. First, you've got norm-referenced tests. These compare a student to a bunch of their peers. So if a kid scores in the 64th percentile, it just means they scored better than 63% of similar students. That's it. On the other side, you have criterion-referenced tests. Think of this like a driver's test. It doesn't matter how well anyone else did. The only question is, did you master the skills needed to pass? Both tell us really important but very different things. Now, it is absolutely vital to know that this whole process is governed by law. The Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, or IDEA, puts some critical protections in place. For example, parents have to be notified and give their permission. The tests themselves can't be discriminatory, and this is a big one. A major decision can never be based on just one single test. A whole team has to be involved. And of course, all the results are kept confidential. These aren't just suggestions, they are legally protected rights. You're going to hear the word accommodations a lot, and it's a really simple but powerful idea. An accommodation just changes how a student can take a test so that their disability doesn't get in the way of showing what they actually know. The best way I've heard it put is this: it's about leveling the playing field, not changing the game. So what do these accommodations look like? Well, they usually fall into 4 main buckets. Presentation is about how the test is shown to the student. Maybe it's read aloud or in large print. Response is about how the student can answer. Maybe they use a computer instead of writing by hand. Setting is about the environment, like taking the test in a quiet room. And scheduling is about time, maybe getting extra time or more frequent breaks. It's all about tailoring the test to the student's needs. And that brings us to our final and honestly most important section. What do we do with all this information? Because gathering data is one thing, but turning it into action, that's what really matters. This is where we put all those puzzle pieces together. This right here, this is the whole point. The data we collect isn't meant to sit in a folder somewhere. It's the blueprint. It's what we use to build effective, personalized instruction that's designed for that one specific kid. It's the answer to that question we started with. How do we know exactly how to help? So, how does this look in a real classroom? Well, a fantastic tool for this is called curriculum based measurement, or CBM. It is the perfect example of putting data into action. Think of CBMs as quick, frequent little check ins on a specific skill, like how fast a student can read or solve math problems.
Let me give you a really concrete example for reading. With CBM, a teacher might have a student read a passage out loud for just 1 minute once a week. The teacher just counts the number of words they read correctly, then they take that number and plot it on a graph. It's that simple, it's fast, and it is an incredibly powerful way to see what's happening in real time. And this is what it looks like. When you put those weekly scores on a graph, a teacher can see at a glance if the student is making progress. Is a line going up? Awesome. What we're doing is working. Is the line flat or going down? Okay, no problem. It's time to switch gears and try a new approach. It gives you that immediate, actionable feedback.
I love this quote because it gets at a really important idea about fairness. Basically, whatever support a student gets in the classroom every day, they should also get during a test. It just makes sense, right? This makes sure we're getting a true picture of what they can do in their normal learning environment. So let's wrap this up. What are the big things to remember? First, assessment is a positive thing. It's about discovery, not judgment. Second, we have different tools for different jobs. There's not a one-size-fits-all test. Third, there are really important rules in place to make sure everything is fair. And finally, and most importantly, all this data has one goal: to help us teach better. I want to leave you with this one final thought to chew on. Now that you understand the what, the why, and the how of assessment, think about the power that comes with that knowledge. How can knowing this stuff empower you, whether you're a parent, a teacher, or just someone who cares, to be a better advocate and to make sure that every single learner gets the support they need to really shine? Thanks so much for joining me today.